40 Longshaw. This is the 9th annual banquet of the Higher Chapter of the National Wrestling Association. We're honored to have you here. If you have a cell phone, if you would be kind enough to turn that off and enjoy the moment as we want to honor these new inductees in the Hall of Fame. I'd like to acknowledge the committee, the board, and would you stand up as I announce your name and wait for the applause at the end. Ray Anthony, Dick Minacci, Andy DeSanto, Joel Greenlee, Steve Kish, Robin Mayfield, and our treasurer, Stephanie Mendelson. Thank you for your service. The same platform for the previous honorees, the Hall of Famers that are here today. Please stand up and stay standing until the end with applause. Rich Bonacci, Harry Huskett, Andy Campoglio, Greg Urbis, Ray Anthony, Steve Kish, Frank Romano, Dave Zizahesky, Tony DiGiovanno, good Italian sandwich, I know that. Robin Rayfield, Andy DeSanto, John Sedlick, Gary Cerasi, and Bill McGregor. Please stand up and be acknowledged. I'm amazed at how many coaches are here, and what I'm amazed more is how many coaches, players, wrestlers travel so far to be here to honor their coach. And that's a compliment to the coach as well as the players, to take time out, to spend time, to honor their coach for their time and dedication. And I'll also like to express all you people coming here. Every year we get about 200 people. It shows the fellowship, the strongness. You know, wrestling is a sport. I grew up with Bobby Douglas, so he echoes to me all the time. It makes you a better person. And it makes you a better person because of the people around you. But I thank all you people for being here today and spending the money and the time to be here. I want to bring your attention, at the end, we acknowledge them and they get a green jacket. So don't leave too soon until the banquet is at the end so you can see the coaches and people getting the acknowledgement and the jackets. So, are you ready to service? Okay. Steve Kish, come up and give them the invitation, please.
I can do without the microphone. Please bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this opportunity to honor our 9th class for the National Wrestling Hall of Fame Ohio Chapter. These folks have meant so much to what has to be the greatest state in the union in the sport of wrestling. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for the many people who are here to honor and support those folks who are going into our Hall of Fame. Thank you for the many previous Hall of Fame inductees who are here this evening for the same purpose. We thank you for the many folks here, relatives, friends, many wrestlers who are here to honor their coaches. That says a whole lot about the sport of wrestling. It's a team sport, but we have each other's backs. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for everything. We pray in your name. Amen.
Again, if everybody would please silence your cell phones. Welcome to the 2019 Ohio Chapter of the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. I'd like to congratulate all of our inductees. and congratulate them. And each one will be introduced and have 5 minutes to come up and give a little talk about their history. At this time, I'd like to introduce our MC for the evening, Matt Ghaffari. Matt wrestled for Cleveland State as a collegiate wrestler. He was an MMA fighter in professional wrestling. He was two-time U.S. Olympic member. He was a silver medalist in 1996 in Atlanta Summer Olympics. He holds 3 American records in U.S. Pro Wrestling. As far as I know, he still holds the records. He's had 4 world and Olympic medals. Now you gotta see why he quit refereeing so much. Glasses on, you know? And all you coaches can yell at me.
It wouldn't help.
There you go. He was a 4-time World Cup champion, 9-time Pan Am champion, 7-time U.S. national champ. I'd like to bring Matt Ghaffari up and thank him and his wife and his daughter, his wife Sam, his daughter Sophia, for being here today to do our program.
Thank you very much. If he would have worn his glasses in the matches, it wouldn't help. Before we get started with our program, we're going to have a lucky winner. Are you ready with the raffle, sir? Come on. Yeah. I did not buy any tickets, so I couldn't pick it. We collected 400, the winner gets 200. You have to present your ticket. The winning number is 910061. 910061. All right. Oh, wait a minute.
So wait, you gonna donate this?
Check his ticket. Check his ticket. We don't trust him. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob, for donating this back to the Hall of Fame. We really appreciate it. He gave 100 back. Thank you. Thanks everyone that donated to the great cause. Appreciate it.
First of all, congratulations to all the families and all the honorees and inductees. These champions in this room did not show up to tournaments, matches, colleges, high schools, and championships to see what they can get. They showed up to give it all. They give it all they have, and they are still giving it all to the athletes as a coach, to the communities, to the schools and organizations. These honorees are successful in the sport of wrestling in many different fields because they took the lessons they learned from this great sport, which is given 100%, being dedicated, being disciplined, being laser focused. They took winning and being successful as a duty and obligation. On the way down here, I was talking to my phone, and my wife was saying, "Really, obligation?" I said many times, my coaches told me, "You're going overseas, you don't place bronze, silver, bronze, you become a tourist. You've been out there visiting a country, you didn't represent a country, you get no awards." Yes, winning and being successful was a duty, was an obligation. Now they do that as a coaches to their teams, to the schools, representing a country, all of it. I wanted to share that at the beginning. We're going to start with the first honoree, David Clay Burkhard. Jim Graylis, one of his wrestlers wasn't here. Ron Vargas here and all of other wrestlers who are here. I asked him to what do they remember. The most important thing Coach Burkhard did for us, and what they remember, is he did a lot for their kids. He was like a father figure. He truly cared about grades, behavior, attitude. He expected a lot. He set the bar very high, high standards. Those lessons have stayed with them. And also I asked him what's a quirky thing he did. He did catch up on everything, even on eggs, which gross most of them out. Coach, I wrestled and trained 3 summers in your wrestling room. It was very hot, even with the doors open. But when the summertime came around, Coach Varga, you were kind enough to open up Fairview for open mats. I ran the guardrail, and I was always amazed. The athletes were always in good shape from Fairview. Coach has many, over 30 years coaching experience. He has over 10 state championships. You can read about every honoree in the booklet. I'm not going to go verbatim. I'll just try to hit the highlights. But I would like to Coach Burkhard to come up here and say a few words. And thank you, Coach. I don't want you to. Then we have to go get surgery. Oh, hold on. Brave man, high standard. He's scared of anything more than worm, snake, anything that slithers.
Unlike Ray, I'm going to take my glasses off because I can't read with my glasses on. First of all, I would like to congratulate all the other inductees tonight. You're a great representation of the sport of wrestling in the state of Ohio. I'd also like to thank the Hall of Fame for putting this fantastic banquet on, the committee and all the members who just do a super job every year. And I'd also like to thank whoever nominated me. I don't know who did, but I have a pretty good idea that Ray Anthony, Bill McGrain, and my son Bryce were highly involved in it. So thank you very much. I got to hold this up a little bit higher so I can see. As most individuals that are nominated for an award, there are many people that help you get that award. So I want to just share a little bit of thanks with all the people that helped me out through the year. First of all, there were 3 men at the very beginning for me. The first was Frank Fury. He was my high school wrestling coach. Excuse me, my freshman year at Elyria High School, we didn't have a wrestling team. I didn't know what wrestling was. I'd never seen a high school match. To me, wrestling was the professional stuff you saw on television. But Frank was hired as a head football, or an assistant football coach and a head wrestling coach. And during practice or after practice, Frank would talk to me about wrestling. And fortunately, he got me to come out for the sport, and I am very thankful. Secondly, the man that influenced me, I'm having a hard time reading my own notes, was, where are you, Harry? Here you are, Harry Busher. He was my coach at Ohio University. And I don't mean this in a mean way, but Harry was the meanest man on the mat I ever knew. But off the mat, he was one of the nicest. Harry developed sort of a toughness and an extreme desire to win. Or in Harry's case, you didn't win unless you pinned your opponent. Harry was very tough. And when we drilled the mat, you would drill until you dropped. And then Harry would make you drill some more. So Harry, thank you very much. He's here tonight, and I really appreciate it. Third man was Elmer Krebs. And Elmer, he was the head coach at Fairview when I did my student teaching there. And after I did my student teaching, I was hired. I was fortunate enough, I never believed I could get hired at a school like Fairview, but I got hired at Fairview. And I was his assistant coach for 3 years. To me, Elmer was a great mentor, and I learned so much from him. excuse me, he demonstrated the importance of patience, not only with the wrestlers, but with the parents and with the other staff members. When I became the head coach, I was very fortunate because I had an in-house advisor that I could go to at any time. He has become a lifetime friend and as close to me as any of my brothers. So Elmer, thank you very much. When I talk about Fairview Wrestling, or the Fairview program, I kind of think of it as developing a village. You have a small village, and that is because you have so many people involved in your program that help out. And to have a really successful program, you need a lot of individuals that are willing to put up a lot of time, a lot of energy to help you out, and we have that at Fairview. I was very lucky. I had a fantastic staff that worked with me, my assistant coaches. I'd like to talk a little bit about each of them because they were great. First was Steve Kovac. He's back over there in the corner. Steve coached with me for 23 years as my assistant. Steve was really good in a one-on-one situation with any wrestler. He would do a lot of scouting for us and talk about what our opponents might try to do against us. So Steve, great coach, but a better friend, and again, more like a brother. Jimmy Greenlee. Jimmy was on my first varsity team when I became head coach. And he was just a super kid. He went away to college, and we were very fortunate. He came back to Fairview, got a teaching job there, and also helped coach wrestling. At that time, you don't want to see him now, but at that time, Jim Greenlee, he was a young stud of the room. I mean, he was like a Greek god. He was just a fantastic wrestler, worked out very well with kids. I could never say enough about Jim for all the time and effort he put into the Fairview Wrestling program. He was a good friend, and no, not like a brother, but more like a son. Len DeAnna. Len and I were assistant coaches together under Elmer Kress. And when I got hired as head coach, I was assistant for 3 years, and then I got hired my fourth year there as the head coach. Len stayed on and was my assistant. And it was more like we had two head coaches. Lenny's knowledge of wrestling was fantastic, and he helped out tremendously. Unfortunately for me and the Fairview program, he got a head coaching job at Mid-Park and started his own fantastic program. So Lenny, thank you very much. You have to do a lot to maintain a strong program, and you have to have great kids. And believe me, at Fairview, we have some really great kids. I mean, not just great wrestlers, but some great kids that put in the time, the willingness, and the work effort. And you also need a strong junior high program. If you don't get them started on the right foot at the junior high program, it's going to be tough thereafter. And two of the junior high coaches that stand in my mind were Dan Fickle and Jeff Kaufman. They just did a super job in my junior high program. I thank them very much for doing everything. And I was also very fortunate that I had two former head coaches come back and coached at our junior high level, and that was Elmer Kress and Len Perrihan. So I was very fortunate. Obviously, you need a lot of volunteers, like most of you guys in here that coach. You had your wrestlers come back and will work out in the room for you. I don't even know if you're allowed to do that legally anymore, but we did back in the day. Kids would come in, work out. If they were in college, they'd bring back some neat move from college, demonstrate it in the room, and ask. So I want to thank all those boys, and I especially wanted to thank Jay Mendocino, who stayed on probably as a volunteer coach for about 4 or 5 years with me, and then we were finally able to hire him to a paid position. And Jay just did a super job with all the kids. Terry June also was like that. He worked out tremendously. A former wrestler that came back. He didn't volunteer as much as Jay, but he was there a lot. Bill Gill, he was a volunteer weight room coach for us. Did a super job. He was just there all the time. It didn't matter in season, out of season, summer. Bill worked out with our kids in a weight room, developed great strength, and kind of developed a real mental toughness with our boys. Of course, you can't have good wrestling without great kids, as I said before. We had a lot. I'd like to name some of them, but it would be an injustice for me to name a few and leave out some. So I'm not going to bring up any wrestlers' names. All I'll just say is we had some really, really good wrestlers that worked out very well for us. And last of all, I'd like to thank the parents that I worked with at Fairview. Just a great group of people, and they did so much for us. They had all kinds of programs. Two of the things that stood out in my mind the most, one, we used to always have a party after any dual meet, and one of the senior parents would put it on. So that way you knew, number one, where your kids were at, and number two, what they were eating. So that really helped with controlling the weight index. Thank them. And then they also put together a program. If any of you saw the program on the display there, I started out my first year with a 3-page mini-graph program. Thought it was a big deal. At the end, when I finally retired, our program was about yay big. It was more like a book. Really fantastic. Juanita Periano, she took one of the programs, submitted it to a national program, and we won first place in it. So they just did a super job for us. Last of all, and I'm trying to hurry through this because I know I'm over my 5 minutes. I'd like to thank the coaches of our conference. They gave such great competition in our conference, the SWC conference, that they just make you work harder. You know, if you want to be decent or good, you had to work. And in our conference, we had some great coaches. Just like to quickly name some of them. Tom Peters, Bill McGrain, Paul Reynolds, Jim Haney, Ken Weaver, Del Lavin, and Mike A. And the A stands for Antonician. I never learned how to spell your name, Mike, sorry. But all great guys, and I consider great coaches, and Joe Scaletta. Joe, I just talked to earlier out in the hallway. Again, SWC, we had really some fine coaches in there, and you had to work hard just to stay above water. Lastly, I'd like to thank my family.
You said lastly 3 times.
Well, you know. Lastly, I'd like to thank my family, that my 2 daughters, Kelly and Aaron, and my son, Bryce, and my wonderful wife, Patty. We've been married 53 years. Won't go into too much about that, but you have been so supportive and sacrificed so much for me so that I could dream my dream and do the thing that I love the most, which was wrestling coach. Thank you.
I forgot to start the timer. It's gonna put a 5-minute timer there. Our next honoree is John Craig. John wrestled at West Liberty State College for 3 years. He was a runner-up at 1972 NIA National Championships. Also was a 3-time champion at the conference and national championships, and was the most valuable wrestler. And he did a lot at Ohio Valley Athletic Conference. He was named more than 5 times Coach of the Year and Mr. Matt Award in 2002. 21 years officiating, and gave a lot, not only to sport of wrestling, but to the community. Please put your hands together for John Craig. You start, I start. That's it.
Like a lot of us at this age point, we have to have our glasses on. So, very humbling experience to be selected for this award. I would like to thank the Ohio chapter, the board, for considering me for this honor. I would like to also congratulate the other nominees, especially Eric Toukonen. Eric was a coach at Harding Junior High a couple of years, and then went on and had a stellar career at Claymont. Had a lot of tough matches between Steubenville and Claymont over the years. And it's nice to see a couple of East District guys given award. I would like to thank those in attendance here to support my induction, family and friends. I'd like to recognize my wife and love of my life for 43 years, Kathy, our daughter Michelle Dixon, and grandson Jack Dixon. Also like to thank my high school wrestling coach who's here, Ron Mock, and Ron's been a good friend over the years. I'd like to recognize my former wrestlers that are here from Steubenville and Indian Creek to share this honor. If you guys would please stand. Thank you. You know, being married for 43 years, my wife went through a lot of trials and tribulations of a wife of a wrestling coach. I officiated some 21 years, as was stated here earlier, from elementary to college. And I remember one Saturday afternoon, I was officiating at Jefferson Union High School. Danny Doyle was the coach there then, a good friend. And they were wrestling a neighborhood school, Toronto. And the coach at Toronto was Dave DeFelice, who was my college roommate. There was a big match, 160 pounds or thereabouts, and it was a tight match. My wife was setting up in the bleachers. We're going to go to Canton somewhere after the match on a Saturday. And as always with wrestling matches, half the fans are cheering every call that I made, and the other half were booing every call that I made. My wife told me the story. She was sitting in the bleachers beside a man who stated, and I quote, "Where did they get this guy? He's terrible." My wife said, "Oh, I think his name's Steve Kish." No, really, she said, I have no idea. I have no idea who he was. And it was probably the correct thing to say. My senior year in high school, the wrestling team was introduced by Coach Mock. And I was a senior. I was never involved in any organized activity, any high school sport or anything. And Coach Mock gave a squirrely kid who was a problem in class at times the opportunity to be a member of that wrestling team. Ron Mock was my first mentor in my life outside of my father. I really don't think I appreciated what Ron did for me until after I started coaching. After that senior season, I went on to West Liberty State College. I didn't even know they had a wrestling program. I was taking one of those general phys ed courses that we all had to take. And Leo Miller, who was the head wrestling coach, said, "Did you wrestle in high school?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, I'll expect you out for the team." What did I know? I wrestled one match my freshman year, ran out of money, and went to night school at the local branch in Weirton. I worked at Weirton Steel during the daytime, and then went to classes in the evening. After a semester and a half, I went back to West Liberty. I had gained 45 pounds. I weighed like 193 or something, and I'm wrestling 158. Enter Fred Paycheck, who was the second coaching mentor in my life. Much like Ron, Fred gave me coaching lessons every day. I owe a great deal to these two men. I wrestled 3 years at West Liberty, and I owe the college a great deal for an education and life experiences. I once told a friend that coaching is a good deal. They pay you for something you do for free. Coaches have a sacred duty to young men in their charge. You try to teach the skills of wrestling, but you also try to teach the lessons of life. Winning, losing, hard work, confidence, humility, honesty. And as we used to say in Steubenville, we had it written on the wall, poise, character, and class. In many ways, I succeeded in those efforts. In many other ways, I could have done much more. My proudest coaching moments come in my life today. The number of former wrestlers that have families, that are good fathers and husbands, the number of former wrestlers that are or have been involved in the sport as coaches. My last two jobs were at Indian Creek And Brandon Pendleton, who's here, is now the head coach at Indian Creek, and he wrestled for me for 4 years. Before that, I spent 18 years at Steubenville High School. Mike Blackburn is the head coach at Steubenville, and he was a former wrestler and wrestled 2 years for me when I moved to Indian Creek. I understand that. I'll be done second. I could say lastly here. The number of former wrestlers that had sons that wrestled, the number of former wrestlers that are friends that I have maintained contact with through Facebook, texting, phone, email. Believe me when I say that I love them all. In closing, I want to thank everybody who made this moment possible. Thank you.
Next honoree is Mike DeAnna. Mike had an incredible high school career with 104 wins, 5 losses, and 1 tie, and 3 state championships. He went to Iowa, where he was 4-time Big Ten champion, 4-time All-American, and also Olympic alternate. He went from assistant coach in Iowa to head coach in Edinburgh. And I spoke to Mike earlier. We never had a day-to-day interaction. I was at the '84 Olympics for my first trials in freestyle. But I know I drove Ed Bannock and Lou Bannock, and I got hired to work Jay Robinson Intensive Camp in Edinburgh in '84. Mike brought the first Iowa style intensive hardcore wrestling camp in Edinburgh, which a lot of the Ohio kids participated. And he developed Edinburgh University to what it is, national powerhouse. He did the seeding for many. But also, I did mention him, I was the first one who bought my DeAnna shoes, and they did not last. And if Mike did not get into wrestling, he would have been in trouble. They're still looking for the guy who put a dead cat in a teacher's car, Mike. I did not tell. Please put your hands together for Mike DeAnna.
I don't know what he's talking about.
Neither do I.
Yeah. Looks like we get it. A green jacket. I was getting ready today, and my wife says, geez, we have to get you some new clothes. That's true, she says. I have like drawers of wrestling t-shirts. And so she helps me get ready, but I'm glad I'm getting the jacket because it'll add to the t-shirts. I would like to start by congratulating the other inductees and the committee for selecting me. I'd like to thank my family for their support. Dad, Mom, Chris and Gary, Pam, my wife, 40 years, right? Our children, Jesse, Tony, Alyssa, Becky, Steph, Kyle, and Tom. The reason I'm receiving this award today is pure luck. My dad was a great wrestler, wrestled at West Tech, was a state champ. My first YMCA coach was Howard Ferguson. Young, aggressive, very successful in business. Probably not a very successful wrestler by standards that this room would hold, but a great organizer and a great motivator. My high school coach at Bay, Joe Scaletta, I knew Joe. Getting inducted today, young, aggressive, great organizer, great motivator. Also, probably not a great wrestler as what you people in here would think of a great wrestler, but he and Howard were great motivators and great organizers, and young and aggressive at that time. My college coach, I went to the University of Iowa. Again, young coach. My freshman year was his first year as head coach, Dan Gable. Yeah, he's a pretty good wrestler. But it was his first year, young, aggressive, motivator. You know, how lucky can one kid get, you know? I think I wrestled, at least in my mind, in the golden era of wrestling, at least for me growing up. Our high school dual meets, many of those were sellouts. I mean, it was great competition. I was in the Southwestern Conference, North Olmsted, Fairview Park, Rocky River, Bay Village. I mean, the gym was packed. Great coaches, Coach Burkhard, Coach Peters, Coach Lavin, Coach Ann, and of course Coach Scaletta. It was very competitive. It was a lot of fun. You grew up in that atmosphere and you just loved it. I went to college, same thing. Again, it was Gable's first year as head coach. Probably our smallest crowd was about 9,000 people. Would be a bad crowd. It was a great experience. I do see some similarities today. I mean, I was very fortunate to grow up in that era. I couldn't have asked for a better situation. I see some similarities today with the dual meets with Ohio State, with Penn State, with Iowa. That's exciting to me to see that happening. They say timing is everything, and I had a lot of family support. I had always had a first or second year, young, successful head coach, just lucky. And to this day, I love the sport. I have a great love for the sport. So, I mean, how lucky can one kid get, you know? Thank you very much. I'd like to thank the committee for selecting me, and appreciate you guys adding to my wardrobe of t-shirts. Thank you very much.
Next one's my favorite one, Joel Greenlee. I wrestled with Joe many times, and Joel and Justin I wrestled. And Baumgartner used to say to me, you gotta be careful, you're gonna wake up the sleeping giant. You know, we work out with him and everything, he's great, you know, but you know, you're gonna wake him up, you gotta make him mad. And I switched to Greco because Bruce used to say he's gonna retire. Every Olympic is gonna retire, but Joe stayed a little bit longer. And I got to meet Joe's mom. They raised a very decent, nice young man, both Justin and Greenlee that I wrestled. They put legs on you and ride you and try to pin you, but they didn't have that dark side of reaching in there and hurting you and choking you and doing other stuff. They just tried to do it with technique, and that's because of their upbringing. Joel has so much, I want to say, wrestlers, teammates that he influenced, and they all speak highly of him. They call him the Big Bear. All these accolades is out there and you can read about it. But I want to tell you, all the kids that come out of OU, and tonight looks like it's an OU thing. There's so many OU guys are going in. I see a lot of the Bobcats. My daughter went there, my brother went there for the medical school. When you walk around the campus, he still gives the time and attention to the guys who are number 2 and number 3. He understands making a young man for the future of this country. Coach Greenlee, I'll let everybody else read about your accolade. All I'm going to say was a privilege to compete with you. You made me better. And I want to say is congratulations to the whole Greenlee family. Please come up. You still get 5 minutes. Okay, 7.
I have to have the glasses too. This is truly a special day for me, just from the standpoint of there's so many people with ties to Ohio University. Once I got the job at Ohio University, Joe Scaletta was probably one of the first people I talked to as far as boosters. He gave me information on background of the program, who to recruit, where to recruit, all those kind of things. Played Burkhard, being a former wrestler for Ohio. Mike DeAnna was actually one of my childhood heroes growing up. He wrestled at the University of Iowa when I was a high school kid in Iowa. And man, you're crazy if you didn't want to be like that guy. His son Tony wrestled for Ohio University as well. So for me, it was just special being part of a group of people that had those ties to Ohio University. I'm going to spend my time today thanking people who played a role in getting me here. And if you guys know me, you know I needed all the help I could get to get here. I was influenced by a lot of people out along the way, coaches, athletes, administrators. I wrestled in Northern Iowa and had the opportunity to pick the brains of guys who were national champions and All-Americans. I wrestled on the U.S. national team for 7 or 8 years and had the opportunity to wrestle with guys like Matt, world and Olympic champions, Bruce Baumgartner, Bill Shear, and all those guys had an impact on my career. Hall of Fame coaches, I had Dan Gable for a couple tournaments, Bobby Douglas, Bruce Burnett, all those guys had an impact on what I did. Wrestling and coaching really allowed me to live my dreams. I've had a lot of people that have influence throughout my life, aunts, uncles, cousins, in-laws. I can't mention them all, but I'd like to take a couple of minutes just to mention a few special people. I'd like to start off by thanking my parents. Obviously, my father's passed away a few years ago, but he was probably the biggest fan of all three of us boys. He didn't miss a chance to talk about the successes that we were having, sometimes the successes that we weren't having as well. My mom, Joan Greenlee, made the trip out here 10 hours with both my brothers. I'm sure that was a great car ride. But in all honesty, I wouldn't expect anything less. All throughout my career, she has done the same thing, whether it was competing in high school, freestyle wrestling, coaching, even to this day, she'll show up somewhere this year. Check on how Joel's doing and how the Ohio Bobcats are doing as well. My parents are my heroes. They taught me how to enjoy success and learn from my failures. They taught me that if I wanted anything in life, that I needed to work for it. They put in the long, hard hours, spent money they didn't have so the three of us could chase our dreams. I'd like to thank my brothers, Jerry and Justin. Jerry probably got my career started. I was a short, chubby little kid. Third grader, wanted to go to a wrestling match. The only reason why I wanted to go was because Jerry was going. I begged my parents. They finally said yes. We went 6 miles down to the road to a wrestling tournament. I wrestled in shorts, t-shirts, stocking feet, got second, and been hooked ever since. We wrestled in our living room. We'd pick rivalry matches. We'd be one of the stars from Iowa, Iowa State, Northern Iowa, whoever it was, and he'd pick the other guy. And then we'd go at it, break the couch, break the coffee table, just about everything in the living room, but that's how we got tough. Justin, for really kind of making me think about wrestling, and kind of a weird story. So my first year coaching in Northern Iowa was his first year, it was his senior year in high school, so we had to recruit this guy, and it was made painfully clear to me by our other coaches that, man, we've got to get this guy. Okay, well, he's getting recruited by us, Nebraska, Northwestern, Iowa State. Those are the ones I can remember anyway. So as time progressed, we ended up signing Justin. It was made clear that we couldn't lose him, so we did definitely sign him. And as time progressed through his career, he and I became more and more competitive. Obviously, I was a little older than him, so I had the big brother advantage. But I think it was his senior year in college. I was still wrestling freestyle. We're going to meet each other in the U.S. Open in Vegas. And we had a freestyle coach at the time. His name was Sonny Greenlee. And I'm back warming up, and he's like, hey, you know you're the brother, right? I'm like, yeah, I know. He's like, you guys shouldn't wrestle your brother. So like, all right, that sounds okay to me. He forfeits to me though, right? He's like, yeah, that sounds good. So I continue to warm up, and he goes over and talks to Justin. And he said, hey, you guys shouldn't wrestle, you're brothers. And Justin says, you know what, he says he beats me, I say I beat him, we're wrestling. So we wrestle. My family and wife Roxanne. Roxanne and I have been together for over 40 years, married for 32 of those years. Obviously, Roxanne was my high school sweetheart, still the love of my life. During the tough times, coaching and personal life, and there's been quite a few of them, she's the one who's helped me get through those rough spots. She's been part of my career every step of the way. And if you don't know me very well, I'm the first guy to admit that I'm not the most organized guy in the world, and she's had 30 guys over for Thanksgiving dinner, 35 guys and their families over for a backyard barbecue. A couple times, hey, I'm on my way home and I'm bringing these 5 guys with me. And has pulled off every event without a hitch like it was planned well in advance. So I really appreciate her allowing me to live my dreams. Walker, my son, just graduated from Ohio University last year, can't be here today. He was at Uncle Justin's Hall of Fame induction 2 weeks ago. Homecoming in Athens is next week. He's coming back for that. Court Street's a lot more interesting than Dad. So, my daughter Madison, she's in the back. Appreciate her being here today. Appreciate the sacrifices she's made so I could be here. When I first went to Northern Iowa, I thought it was pretty good. I mean, I wrestled on a high school team that wasn't very good, so I was probably the best guy on it from my sophomore year on. I was going to say my freshman, but Jerry was there my freshman year, so I'll say my sophomore year I was the best guy on the team from then on. But I quickly found out when I went to Northern Iowa, I had a lot to learn. The first 2 months was unbelievably humbling. I found out I wasn't strong enough, big enough, good enough, quick enough, all those things. But thankfully, I had 3 great coaches, Don Briggs, John Krebs, and Jim Miller. All those guys were more than coaches to me. They were friends, confidants, mentors. Coach Briggs was like a father figure to me. Other than my father, he had the single biggest impact on my life, or other than my parents, really, he had the single biggest impact on my life. I really owe my coaching career to Coach Briggs. He's the guy that gave me a start being an assistant coach at Northern Iowa. I would run through walls for the guy today. Ghaffari's over there with the clock on. So my experience in Northern Iowa was invaluable. I mean, they have an old gymnasium. It's called the West Gym. There was the East Gym and the West Gym. I think way back in the day, there were men's gym and women's gym. And that's where we wrestled. And that's kind of the thing that got me hooked on coaching. This gym seats about 35,000 people. They're old slate bleachers. They had the NCAA tournament there, or not slate, but slats. They had the NCAA tournament there back in the 1950s. It's a balcony, probably 5 or 6 rows deep in the balcony. You know, I watched great things happen there. I watched Kurt Cheatham, a guy on my team, true freshman, beat defending national champion Claire Anderson in that building. I saw Northern Iowa beat, then at the time, Oklahoma State, who was ranked #1 at the time, in that building. So when I was coaching at Ohio, we had an opportunity. Northern Iowa was in the MAC for a few short years, so we had an opportunity to go back there. It was probably 2015 or 16, and obviously you want to go back and beat your alumni, you know, the place you went to school and all that stuff. So we spent a ton of time prepping our guys for that. It's a small building. There's going to be a little Frenchman in the front row that's going to call you by your first name. There's a guy over here that wears overalls, looks like he's straight off the Duck Dynasty. And I don't even know his name. Everybody just calls him a general. They've called him that for 30 years. So I thought we did a great job of preparing our guys. We're ready to go. We get there, the locker room's 95 degrees, just like I thought. We have a pretty good dual meet, and we actually win the dual meet. Well, I noticed one thing. Right next to our bench, there's a little old lady sitting in a wheelchair. She's got an Afghan across her lap. Man, that was nice of them. They accommodated her. There's nowhere else for her to sit, really. Well, our 184-pounder, Andrew Romanchek, is wrestling now national champ Drew Foster at the time. Okay, Romo wins. I think it was in overtime. He gets up, maybe shushes the crowd or raises the roof or something. It wasn't something super egregious. But this little old lady jumps out of her wheelchair. Both hands extended, and you can imagine what's at the end of those hands. right to Andrew Rumencha. So the West Gym ghosts still live. That's something that our guys still talk about every day. And to me, that's the big thing about wrestling. I want to get the memories to talk about. Obviously, you want to win, but I also want to have those things. The administration of Ohio University, I can't tell you how thankful I am for the opportunity to be the head coach. I came to Ohio 22 years ago as a relatively young and naive coach. I value loyalty, integrity, and honesty, the same things Ohio athletics value. Our new athletic director, Julie Cromer, Deputy Athletics Director, Amy Dean, Ken Winstead, Senior Associate Director for Development, Tim Naval, Associate Athletic Director for Business Operations, are here today. When I first got to Ohio, man, probably less than a desirable job. We had 4.5 scholarships, no assistant coaches, a budget that's less than adequate, let's put it that way. Through the years, all that has changed. One person I think that really stands tall in making those changes is our Deputy Athletic Director, Amy Dean. She's been instrumental in making changes in scholarships, so we're at the NCAA limit at 9.9. We have 2 unbelievable assistant coaches that I have the pleasure of working with every day. Colt Sponseller is here today, all-time great high school wrestler in the state of Ohio, had a great career at Ohio State. I know the success I've had is all due to the work ethic of great wrestlers, great coaches, and great administrators. I just happen to be part of the equation. And lastly, the athletes that have gone through Ohio University, to me it's all about the athletes. Every one of them deserve a little piece of this award. I appreciate the opportunity they have given me to coach them. I've tried to put them first in everything I do. I appreciate the belief they've had in me through the years. There's nothing without those guys. There's no All-American honors, no conference championships, no Coach of the Year awards, no academic All-Americans, nothing without the hard work, sacrifice, and trust they've had in me. Wrestling teaches values that really matter later in life. It teaches toughness, work ethic, camaraderie, and confidence. Wrestling also exposes your weaknesses. Wrestling teaches you how to set goals and strive for something and accomplish things you didn't think you could have. Those things translate into values that are going to help you later in life. To me, coaching is about doing the job the right way. As coaches, it's our charge to bring the very best out of each individual, not only in wrestling, but in life. I'd like to thank everybody for coming today. Have safe travels home. And again, thank you.
Our next nominee is a friend, also wrestled in my alma mater, Cleveland State, Guy Sako. He was a captain 2 years. He wrestled from 85 to 89. He was NCAA qualifier. Guy went in to coach 10 All-Americans and 2 NCAA champions, 35 wrestlers who came out of Guy's program, West Shore Club. They are all not only successful contributors to the community, but also great athletes. Coach Ceresi and Coach Bonacci did not know, but Guy approached him when he was wrestling that he was interested in becoming a police officer. At that time, Cleveland police stopped ride-alongs, but Coach Ceresi knew Doug Freese, and Doug Freese allowed Guy to do a ride-along. If you guys don't know, he was a referee who passed away in the match. Not too many people know that Guy Sako wears a badge number of Doug Freese. Guy is 25 years police officer. But most importantly, like I told you at the beginning, that they come in to give it all. Guy saw a problem that we all face with the skin diseases, with infections. We lose wrestlers just because the mats are dirty. He came out with a defense soap. He saw a problem, he came out with a solution. I remember at 1 year, everybody had to scrub up with whatever you go for pre-surgery, the yellow soap, because the infection was so bad. And since 2005, Guy Sako had created defense soap. He just gives back to USA Wrestling. He's in all the tournaments, and also some international countries are using his products. I want to congratulate Sako family. I asked the family members and the daughter, like, what can I say about their fathers that would be funny but also PG. They just said that he's a great father, and he liked coaching kids a lot, that he has a lot of kids. So he's a serial father. So I just want to welcome Guy Sako.
I don't really need my glasses, but I just put them on so I felt like everybody else. I'd like to congratulate the other inductees as well. You know, it's getting kind of old at this point already, but I don't want to be remiss in that. It's a great group of guys, and I'm honored to be a part of that. I'd also like to humbly thank the Ohio chapter for my induction. It's a tremendous honor, and I'll live up to it. I'd like to thank Tony DiGiovanni, David Zaransky, and Charlie Agostino for their letters of recommendation. I'm always uncomfortable about asking people for favors, but these three guys I've gone to time and time again, and they're always there to support me. I really appreciate that. I'd like to thank my lovely wife, Ashley. She's not one for attention, so I'm not going to go too much into that, but Ash, you're a wife that every wrestling coach should have. You know, special breed of woman to be a wrestling coach's wife. I'd like to thank my oldest children, Gus and Elise, for reminding me of the coach and the father that I was. You're great people. I see the lessons that I taught you in life by the way you live your life and by the spouses you have chosen. So I'm proud of that. I'd like to thank my youngest children, Matt and Emma, for keeping me young and for reminding me the parents that I have to be. I'd like to thank my employees who dedicate countless hours to see my business grow. Blake, Dan, Charlie, Leah, my sister Jess. We couldn't do what we do at the Pencil without you guys. I appreciate that. I'd especially like to appreciate Coach Bonacci. I was more than humbled and honored when he said he was nominating me for this great honor. Coach is a man who rolled the dice on a kid more than 35 years ago. The kid who never qualified for the state tournament. But he was always a kid on the outside looking in. Coach saw something in that kid and gave him a chance when others walked away. By the time I finished my career at Cleveland State, I was a team captain and an NCAA qualifier. I never made it to the state tournament, but somehow I managed to wrestle in the NCAA championships. Coach, your unwavering faith in me is something I'll never forget. Appreciate it. I can honestly say I've never had a bad coach. My high school coach, John Sedlick, is here today. He's also a member of the National Hall of Fame. I was reminded earlier today that his wife, Nancy, had a heart attack 2 days before he was inducted. I'm glad that you're with us here today, Nancy, because you had to skip that one so you can tag in and play along in this one. Gary Ceresi, my assistant coach at Cleveland State, also a member of this National Hall. That's two great coaches there. And then, of course, Dick Bonacci, member of the National Hall. Like DeAnna was saying, he was fortunate to, with the coaching that he had. I, too, have never had a bad coach. 3 coaches, 3 National Hall of Fame members. Tony DiGiovanni and Dave Zaransky are 2 other men that have influenced my life. Not much of a surprise at all that they also are members of this Hall of Fame. Despite all the greatness that surrounded me, my wrestling career was modest at best. Never saw the state tournament in high school. As a matter of fact, the first state tournament I ever saw was when my son Gus won his first state title. What I did learn on this journey was that I made a lot of mistakes. Some were simple, little things that just needed tweaking. Other things were not. I took the approach to be a good coach would mean teaching others not to make the mistakes I made. When you have a lot of mistakes to correct, you have a plethora of coaching tips. So I got a whole bunch of those. The tips that young wrestlers can use to grow. For more than 30 years, I've proudly coached the West Shore Wrestling Club. I've had some tremendous assistant coaches along the way. Jeff Leonard, Charlie Agazino, Ronnie Barga, Coach Bonacci with me now, my son Coach, my son Gus. You know, you can't have a great program without great assistants. Obviously great kids too, but great assistants. I've had that, I've been very fortunate. Some of my proudest accomplishments, I had 17 kids at one time wrestling Division I on a college scholarship. 17 kids from one team in college wrestling Division I. That was pretty cool for me. I've had actually 13 Division I All-Americans, 4 NCAA finalists, and a 2-time NCAA champion. I just recently had 2 wrestlers wrestle the World Championships. Clearly all these wrestlers came through great high school and college programs, but it's been an honor to be a part of the beginning. I've had the privilege of coaching the West Shore Club, a club that's steeped in history. We've been the feeder program of St. Ed's for decades. The past 2 head coaches, the late Howard Ferguson and the still living Coach Herbis, also members of this hall. For 25 years I served as a patrolman in the Cleveland Police Department, probably wearing a badge number 1082. That was a badge number Don Ferris has put it. Don was a pretty tough guy. He was a Cleveland homicide detective and just a no-nonsense type of person that took me under his wing. I wore that badge every day for 25 years, trying to make him proud. I worked my entire career night shift, 25 years midnight, so that I could get up and coach wrestling. Never miss a single match that my team wrestled. Every weekend, everywhere, someplace. So, and finally, I created a company. It was called Defense Soap. You know, my team had about 100 kids on the team. Every single kid had a ringworm. I'm like, why the heck does somebody just make a soap to get rid of ringworm? How hard can it be? Well, 15 years later, that little company, now in Defense Soap Europe, Defense Soap China, Defense Soap Australia, Defense Soap Canada, it's going pretty well. And I have my employees to thank for the growth of that company. That company pays sponsors, UWW, United World Wrestling, USA Wrestling, countless other organizations. Currently, we're building a 12,000 square foot building in Vermillion, where we're putting 2 full mats in the back, and those mats will be for free clinics for kids that can't necessarily afford wrestling clinics. The very first coach that we're going to bring in is Matt Lindland of the U.S. wrestling team. He's already said he would be in. So we're going to just open it up to anybody who wants to come, and they'll be able to come and wrestle. We'll be headed off to Budapest in the next couple of weeks. My team and I are presenting hygiene protocol to wrestlers around the world. We sit down with the United World Health Council and presenting them with our e-book that we have written on protocol and sharing that with wrestlers around the world. So it's kind of neat that this little company that we started in a basement is now teaching protocol to wrestlers around the world. Along the way, I picked up a couple of tips on wrestling I just want to share with you. Coach Tim Conberry, don't ever give up on a kid. Really important. I mean, most coaches know these, but these are the ones that stuck with me. Dick Bonacci, every kid is different. It's your job to figure out what makes them tick. Dick Bonacci, the sun will come up tomorrow. I can't tell you how many times I fall on that one. Dick Bonacci, whoever said life is fair. Greg Gervers, try a chicken noodle soup at George's. This is the best. And I like to want to add one of my own. Coach where you have failed, not just where you're good. That's it. Thanks.
Joe Scaletta wrestled for Ohio University. He then went and coached Columbia Station from 69 to 71, Bay Village High School 71 to 79, and he guided the Bay Village to Ohio AAA State Co-Championships in 1972 and a runner-up finish in 1976. His squad won the district title in 1976, sectionals in 74 and 76, conference title in 72 and 76. Coach Scaletta was named Coach of the Year in 1976, 77, Grader Coach of the Year 71, 72, Conference Coach of the Year 72. He and Coach Ferguson had a business, and after Coach Ferguson passed away, Joe bought the assets and it became his company. They built great condominium, also other multi-family housing. I just want to have you guys put your hands together for Joe Scaletta, our next honoree.
Just like to make a few corrections. Mike DeAnna said that somebody put a raccoon under a coach's front seat. I think it was the other way around. The coach put it under his front seat. And Ray's been a wrestler at Columbia, and he was there when I left. He was an 8th grader, and then he was a freshman. He kept saying, Joe, if you would have stayed, I would have been a 3-time state champ. And Ray, I think you're wrong. I think you would have been a 4-timer. But my wife said make this quick because people are want to get out of here, so I'll try to do that. But I have to acknowledge some people. I'd like to acknowledge the Hall of Fame committee for nominating me and voting me in. Like the Banquet-National, I believe, nominated me. Thanks, Mike. I'd like to congratulate the other inductees. It's really special going with Mike DeAnna, who I coached. Appreciate that. Wrestling was great for me. I didn't start. I went to Cleveland City Schools. Didn't have a good program, but I had a good coach, John Bianchi, who I know he's in the Referees Hall of Fame, and it was a good experience. And came and met a lot of people who were a great influence in my life. And then I went on to Ohio U, and I was not a good wrestler at Ohio U. I mean, the only time I wrestled was when somebody didn't make weight, or they didn't make, or they were sick. It reminds me of a kid named Giuseppe, the first, I think, postseason game of the preseason game for the Browns. This kid was a walk-on, and he returned a punt return, scored a touchdown. Whole team piled on. Well, that's what they did to me. If I won a match, I didn't get picked. But you know, everything with wrestling was special, and coaching meant a lot to me. And introduced me to a lot of people along the way, and I'm so happy for that. I think something else is I've got stage 4 kidney cancer. I've had for 10 years, and the doctor says, "Are you doing this? Are you taking some kind of supplement I don't know about? Because most people die off of less time." And I said, "No." I said, "Just crank up whatever you want to give me. I'll handle it." He says, "Why?" He says, "I can handle somebody trying to rip my head off. I can handle whatever you're giving me." So, you know, he didn't. I had time. I said, "I'm finally king of the mat," because I was on a clinical trial that lasted 6 years, and after a worldwide study, and after 6 years, I was the last guy standing. So I finally became king of the mat. I still have the cancer. I'm still playing. But I want to. There are many people I'd like to thank, and I can't ramble. But I'd like to thank my wife of 46 years, my 4 children, and Janelle Sear, Amanda Barnes, Mike Scaletta, and Giovanna Bremke. I call her by Scaletta. But my wife put up a lot, like every other coach's wife, but I was So if you get me up in the morning, and get me out to work, I'll be okay. I appreciate everyone who came today. I had a ex-wrestler from 1969, Columbia. He was a sophomore, or no, junior on the team that Ray was. And he's now a successful attorney in Columbus, and he came here. And, another thing, Bay Village, we had great families there, great people. It looks like to introduce some for making the trip. Scott Dennis, Gary Gilmore came from California, Bill Landers, Randy Nickel. Hope I'm not forgetting anybody. Then we go way back to Ohio, and the guys that came, Zip, Brian Oswald, Frank Cargill, and my old coach, Harry Huska. My wife said I can't go off script, but what Harry got, I have to go off script a little bit. I was a senior in high school and getting all these phone calls from these high schools, recruiting me to be the head wrestling coach. I go to Harry, I said, Harry, what are you telling these people? And Harry, he scratches his butt, picking his nose. And he says, so why do you tell them I can, be the head coach? I'm just graduated from high school. He says, he said, well, first of all, I was going to quit my senior year of high school. And Harry said, I'll break your legs if you're going to quit. You've been with me this long. You want to go into coaching, and I'm going to get you a job. So I had all these schools calling me, and he's telling them I was the best thing since sliced bread. I said, Harry, why are you telling that? He says, you stupid, you're the only guy I got. The rest of them aren't in education or in other classes. So Harry, I appreciate you believing in me. And we've been great friends for 100 years. Harry, I appreciate it. Thank you. I think I'm done with my speech.
Our next honoree, Captain Jeff Simmons, was a two-time state qualifier and competed in high school and a placer in the state of Illinois. He went on to 4-year varsity leader and 3 times NCAA qualifier, NCAA All-American for U.S. Naval Academy. He then was a second lieutenant in the Marine Corps, served as a supply officer. As he was in the military, CISM is like a world championship for military games. He competed freestyle and Greco. He placed and won a gold medal in Iran and Baghdad. But one of the most important trophies out there, which is unique, he competed for US. He was a freestyle runner-up and Greco-Roman world team member. That's every 3 years is Olympic team, but he was #1 in the US, representing US and Sweden. He took 4. You get first, bronze, gold, or silver. They don't give anything else. But when he was competing, he got a 4th place trophy, which is out there. It should be part of the museum and history. He came back to the sport as an official, 21 years officiating, or 24 years officiating, Ironman, Beast of the East. Please put your hands together for Captain Jeff Simmons. His service brothers wanted to call him Double Dog, Redneck, Jarhead, Leatherhead, all of them. Leatherhead. All of them. Come on, Simmons. Hey, Simmons!
Yeah, 2 things. One, you never see Matt put a clock on himself. And 2, it's Simon's. I always get called Simmons. There's only 1 M. 1 M. It's a long I. Simon. I don't want to make him mad though. Well, good afternoon. I can't tell you how humbling it is to receive this award. And I also want to congratulate the other honorees today, because the impacts you all have made on wrestling are just unbelievable. And I'm honored to be among you.
I want to thank my family. I want to thank my friends. I have friends from wrestling. I have friends from coaching. I have friends from the dark side officiating. And I thank you all for being here. First, I want to thank God. I'm thankful to the Lord for everything in my life and my journey. And I'm thankful for the skills He gave me to be able to compete at a high level, for the skills I was able to do when I coached, and for the opportunities and skills that I've had as an official. And I thank Him for my hearing being not very good, because I don't hear coaches and fans anymore. When a parent or a coach yells, "You suck, ref," what I hear is, "You're good, Jeff." And I smile inside. I thank my mom and dad. They were very supportive. My dad used to get up with me in high school before school to spot me lifting weights. And you could not mistake my mom's voice in the stands, which was very supportive as well. I also thank them for putting a lot of pressure on me to go to the Naval Academy. My choice in schools, I had a lot of scholarship offers, came down to the school up north and the Naval Academy. And they put a lot of pressure on me, and I thanked my mom last year. My dad's been gone for a long time, because that was the right choice for me in my life, and I'm very grateful for that. I thank my wife Jan more than anybody else. She has logged more hours in the stands, at the hospital, and at banquets than any human being should ever have to endure. She could probably give rules clinics. When she saw the summary of my career, she said, "Wow, you were gone a lot." And that's very true. Seemed I was always in a camp or off traveling around the world somewhere or wrestling somewhere, and I wasn't travelable. I missed 3 of our first 5 anniversaries. So you know I never forget an anniversary. And 10 days ago was the 50th anniversary of our first date. We played putt-putt golf, and I think she won. And we've been married for 44 years. I thank my, she's my best friend. She always tells me the truth, and she's got my back. Thanks, hon. I appreciate all that support. Our kids are with us. Our kids are here with us today. Thanks for your support over the years. My daughter Christy, her husband Ron, their son Jackson, and their daughter Reese, and my son BJ and his son Tyler. His wife Alex couldn't be here today, and he's got 3 more boys. And they're at their other grandparents' house. And I thank you all for your support. I'm going to coach their little kids program this year in Madeira, which is going to be a blast. And we're also very blessed because we actually live close together. We were never close to our parents. We were always at least an 8-hour drive away, and we're only 30 minutes away now, so that's a real bonus. I want to thank all of our friends that came in here, one at that table and that table. I appreciate you all coming in from afar, and I appreciate your support over the years, and I thank you for being here. And I also consider my coaches and teammates and referees to be my friends, and I want to recognize a few now. From high school, I have 2 of my teammates from high school. Bill Anderson was our 112-pounder and co-captain, and he's here. And then Rob Rummel was our heavyweight. He was my training partner. Certainly contributed to me winning the state championship, and you can't win if you don't have a good training partner. So thanks, Rob, and I appreciate you being here. And then my coach. I used to think he was old when I was like 18. I thought he was old, and he was only 10 years older than me. But Bob Easter is here. He's a Rose Bowl champion from the University of Illinois. He was Dick Butkus played with him. I used to say he played with Dick Butkus, but Dick Butkus played with him too. So he believed in me even when I didn't believe in myself, and he could push us super hard. And I thank you, Coach, for coming. It means a whole lot to me. The Naval Academy, in case you don't know, is not your typical university. It's not a real college experience like you had going to regular college. It's very different with the kind of demands that get put on you. But we were blessed to have super outstanding coaches. The wrestling room was our escape from the rigors of the brigade. And we had Ed Perry, three-time NCAA champion, Hall of Fame member. So was his dad, so was his brother. They have their own room in Stillwater. Bob Kopniski was a national champion at Maryland, great motivator. And Wayne Hicks, who was a national runner-up at Navy, was another coach in the room. Those guys kept it loose. They pushed us hard. And they gave us so many more lessons than just wrestling. They were super big influences on me as a person and as a coach. And there were two, we had officer representatives. Every sport has an officer representative. And we were blessed to have two outstanding Marines. Chuck Krulak was my freshman and sophomore year. He became commandant of the Marine Corps. And then Tony Garcia, who flew medevac helicopters in Vietnam, was there our senior year. And those guys influenced me. They were so impressive. They influenced me heavily to go Marine Corps upon graduation. So I thank them for that. In the Marine Corps, the late Jim Jackson was the coach of the Marine team when I got my commission. And he was in the class of 73. And I thank him because after the Olympic trials in 76, I was going to stop wrestling and go be a Marine, up in the Fleet Marine Force. And he had my orders canceled. I went in to get my orders to Hawaii, and he hadn't canceled. So God has a great plan, stayed there, and it worked out super well for me. So thanks to Jim Jackson. Another Marine that I coached on the team is here, Dan Lutler. We called him Mud, was my teammate at the Naval Academy, and he was a 142-pound NCAA champion back in 1973. Had the strongest grip of any wrestler I ever knew, by far. And we were like brothers. We competed with each other. I know. And, good to see you. And then I coached him in the Marine Corps. We're like brothers. We fight, we play, we each have each other's back all the way. So thanks so much for coming. On the international scene, this will be real quick. Great coaches that we've had for U.S. I had Jim Peckham, I had Lee Allen, I had Joe DeMio, I had Jay Robinson, I had Wayne Bachman, Eddie Haddad, Pavel Coxon. Super influential, great people, awesome coaches, and you can't do well if you don't have people who are great coaches. I know I only coached for a short while. You coaches have no idea the influences you have on young men's lives. It's super, it's fantastic, and I thank you all for that. The guys that officiate truly love the sport because it's a thankless job, but there have been some giants that have been in the sport since I've been officiating, lucky enough to do it here in Ohio. Dick Lowenstein, Vince Matucci, Ray Anthony, Jim Vreeland, Steve Long, Steve Kish. He was the captain of my first state team when I was there. Great guy, great official, helped me a lot. And I want to mention Jack. What's that?
Yes, we look good.
I'm almost done. Jack Beard was a little 125-pounder for me in the Marine Corps, and who knew that 20 years later I'd come back to Ohio and get to referee with this guy. Great mentor, great coach to me as an official, great human being, wonderful coach himself, so thanks, Jack, for everything you've done. Wrestling is a great sport for teaching young men and women. Tremendous lessons in building, it builds your character, tremendous lessons in life that will carry you throughout. And it's certainly been that for me. I can never sufficiently thank all the people who influenced me over my career and my life as a flyer. But I want to thank them for making my life, enriching it, and making it better. So thank you. I appreciate the honor.
Wrestling is a humbling sport. Everybody tells me that we are the salt of the earth because we weren't spoiled. We weren't God's gift because we ran faster. We weren't stronger. It's a combination of strength, mental, discipline, tactics, technician, but also having a heart of the lion. Our last nominee tonight, Eric Toukonen. I know, he told me to pronounce it wrong, so I'm just doing it right. Put a can of Coke in the front. Toukonen wrestled for Kent State for 3 years and graduated in 1977. He served as a coach for a total of 42 years. That's admirable. 42 years. You have changed many people in many different schools. 1992 Ohio Division II Coach of the Year honors after guiding Clermont to the state title. He also coached 2 state runner-up teams in 2009 and 14, 3 dual meet state runner-up teams in 12, 13, 14, 27 conference championship teams, 28 sectional teams. He's going to add this Hall of Fame to the list of other Hall of Fames he's already part of. Ohio Wrestling Coaches Hall of Fame, Medina Tournament Hall of Fame, Alliance Top Gun Hall of Fame. Please put your hands together for E.T. Oh, go ahead, jump. Right there. Go ahead. I got a 911, don't worry.
It's Toukonen. I told my daughter and my son, don't worry, as long as we don't have the table right in front of the podium, we're going to be in good shape with the 3, 5, and 8-year-old grandsons here. I just had a workout for 2 hours, right, guys? But I'm so proud of them. I'm so proud of my family. I got a lot of people to thank, but it's my family that I want to thank today. They've been behind me all the way. We've done some crazy things. Lex and I went out and bought a 76 mobile van to haul kids around. It had 2 bench seats and it had a back end open. And I put 15 to 17 of my Claymont wrestlers in one van and we'd take off anywhere. Right, Tony? DeAnna, he's somewhere every week to Sullivan. We went to Iowa, Pennsylvania. We were all over the state, and these poor kids, some of the poorest, Claymont's one of the poorest schools in the state of Ohio, and these kids would go with me, never complain, work hard. They got in trouble once in a while. They'd fight once in a while here and there. They like to fight, but they were tough kids. If I could get them on the mats, they'd perform for me. And I'll always be very appreciative of them. Some of them had some very rough lives. I remember one time going to a match and it was -2 degrees out. And I said to Coach Brett Peters, one of my top assistants, I said, Brett, look at that poor guy. He has no window in the back of his car driving in this cold weather. And Brett looked at me and said, Coach, that's our video man. He was taking a mention. That's a bigger joke. I figured, I thought it was a good one. I don't want anything after that. But I do want to thank my family. My wife, Lexine, been with me for 45 years. I could always count on her. The kids had no money to pay for gas or anything like that. Sometimes they didn't have money to eat. She provided. I know I watched wrestlers buy 1 large Coke. Get 1 large milkshake. And they would all of a sudden start passing this cup around because it was the same cup that you got Coke in. And they'd all get themselves a large Coke at the same time. They do things like that, eating and traveling and moving. And they had tough lives. But to get back to my family, I'm going to get there. My wife, Lexine, we've been together for 45 years. As I said, I could always count on her help and support. My son, Kane, a very successful businessman and vice president of Baron Goody, a surveying and engineering firm. And he was also our first 4-time state qualifier. He'll probably kill me for that at Claymont, and a state runner-up. And I'm really proud of him. My daughter, Brittany, an administrator at Dover City Schools. She helps kids who need help, and I'm very proud of her. She was also a mat maid for us, a scorer. We get into some coaches that didn't know how to score a match right, Tony DiGiovanni. But anyways, told her one time, you don't even know anything about wrestling. And my daughter told her, yes I do. She was a defender of me, and anybody that knows me, during a match, I need defended sometimes. And then my daughter-in-law, Holly, who's a pharmacist, and chose to be a stay-at-home mom, and I'm really proud of that. And last but not least, my 3 grandsons, Noble is 8 years old, and I'm very proud of him. My first grandson, Honor, he was 5 years old. He's looking the other way now, but again, a kid that I just love him. I'm very proud of him. And my 3-year-old grandson, Creed, who's done a real nice job of being quiet tonight and listening. Coach Ron Gray asked me, I had a wrestling class with him at Kent State, and he asked me to walk on the team, and it started the whole process of my career. And I went to Garrettsville. The coach threw the keys at me and said, hey, I'm the football coach, I'll be in the library, you got the team. So I was like a kid in a candy shop. I had my own team. And we did well. Garrettsville, went to Steubenville, a very athletic-minded town, and it was a great experience there at Steubenville. Then at Claymont, we set goals to win state titles. We won 1 state title, but in the 90s, we beat this team by 2 points. Packed gym. I'm going to tell you right now, we had 12 to 1,500 people in a 1,000-seat gym. And we would, and Coach Urbis can tell you that. Coach DiGiovanni can tell you that. Any coach that brought a team into our gym, our people, I don't know where they got the money to come to the matches, but they packed them. We'd put them in the stands, we'd set them on the floor, and then we'd go at it. Our kids would go at it. We didn't have the money to go to freestyle and all this other stuff. We had to depend on our individual matches in order for us to get the competition. And I would always try to stress to the guys how important that was. And then I had a terrible situation happen this last spring. One of my wrestlers passed away. And he told I can't do this. He told his brother that it was the greatest thing that happened to him was that we were against Uniontown Lake, T.D. Talbot, if you know him, he can be a pain in your butt. He's a friend of mine, but he's a pain in the butt. But it was against Uniontown Lake. There was no weight limit on heavyweight, and Chad Pullman went out there at 190 pounds and battled him to a 6-1 loss. He lost the match. He didn't win, but we were ahead by 4 points, and we had won the match by 1. And he told his brother it was the greatest thing he had ever had in his life. And that's what a Claymont wrestler is all about. Thank you.